Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. It's your daily update of all things transfer news, views, and clues. We hope you are all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with those you love to do with. I hope you include this hour and 15, hour and 10 that we spend with you every day. We've got Johnny H3232. Before I come to him, guys, little bit of admin, little bit of housekeeping. Smash the nanny out of the like button if you enjoy the content. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. If you are watching and you're not subscribed and you want to participate in the chat, for those of you that are on YouTube, then all you got to do is hit the subscribe. You get instant access. Hit the notification bell. Drop your comments thick and fast. If you're new around here, let us know where you're from, who you support. And if you're watching this on audio later, we'll try to be cognizant of you not always being able to get the visuals.
To it on audio.
Listening to it even. If you are a preference of, if you like to, that's your preference, by the way, guys. If you are watching this on YouTube, all of the links for the various audio platforms are in the description below. Johnny, mate, how are you?
I'm all right. Listen, as a Spurs fan, disillusioned. As a Football Link podcast YouTuber, I'm very happy. There's lots of news. There's news coming every day. There's so much to talk about. It's just, unfortunately, not much about our club. Just sort of... various random links and players that we're linked with who we don't really think we're going to buy, whilst we're watching the likes of Newcastle, Arsenal, and even Sunderland, Leeds, and Burnley make inroads into the transfer window. We are still treading water, but we shall come to that, I'm sure, as the season progresses. This transfer window progresses, should I say.
Johnny, just quickly before we get into the main title of the show is about Turkey. But if Foxy's watching, Turkey, this is the Turkey segment already. We're coming to it just in a second or two. Before we get to that, little brief moment for the well wishes, I guess, for Chelsea. £82 million already made out of a Club World Cup that has seen them dispatched with a few Brazilians and a few South American teams, but 85 million quid for a summer's sort of stroll in and across America. That's not bad money, is it? Maybe Todd Bowley's vision is starting to all pull together nicely for him. Fair play.
Listen, they could be the first team to win every single tournament, right? Every tournament. And
could also be the last team to win every single tournament.
Correct.
The Spanish guy says that he's never going to let it happen again.
Yeah, so it might not ever happen again, and therefore they will be the one and only winner. Look, João Pedro's goals yesterday was something to behold. The first one especially. Listen, I've always been a big fan. Funny enough, when before he came to Watford, I was sent videos of him, and I was saying, "Oh, this is someone we should be into." He went to Watford. Then I wanted him when he was there, and it's amazing. Only Watford and Brighton seemed to see his potential at that point. And then obviously, Chelsea have seen it, and I think it's a great signing for them. I thought it was the funniest thing. Did you see Palmer remonstrating with Nicholas? I haven't got a clue what I'm doing in front of Goal Jackson. Oh God! Even the players brought him out.
What happened?
Oh, no, he just screwed up with a pass. He should have passed the ball, and he's just an absolute nightmare. Oh, Marcus started the super sticker train.
Choo-choo!
First train pulling out.
I tried that. To be fair, I did my own show last night. I had a couple of beers. Forgive me. So sue me, the Jewish-Japanese lawyer. And someone put, I think it was Daniel Field put in the super sticker, the first one. And I was like, I'm going to try this. I was like, guys, there's 800 people watching. Just saying quietly, if everybody put in £1 or £1.50, I'd be able, rather than saying I'd make 850 quid, I said, I'll be able to go and pay for a really pretty looking bird to sit in the background and do keep everything like a little bit more aesthetically pleasing rather than looking at this fat chump for the rest of the year. And the stickers flew in. Everybody wants to see a pretty girl who knows a thing or two about football to come onto the show. So same rules apply, guys. If the super sticker train...
The stupid tricker train. We've got 2 carriages in the train. Thanks very much, Drew. The train has left the station.
Choo-choo. Everyone wants a pretty girl to come and join us, Johnny. This is going to the Pretty Girl Fund.
They need more eye candy. But for those listening in audio, not as Sean says, watching in audio, very difficult. He's not so chubby. He's not a chubby chappy. He's just a tall lad.
I am. I'm a big boy. But it is what it is. Thank you very much, Drew. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate you. Yeah, look, Chelsea need to get a few more super stickers to match what Chelsea have done thus far in the Super Cup. Simon Jordan this morning was, I guess he was singing from my hymn sheet. I've been called before a poor man, Simon Jordan, Johnny, and I don't. It's not the worst slights to be thrown at you. I've had a lot worse. But he was saying, I think what you and I are saying, right? That, Chelsea, look, fair play to them, making a lot of money out of a tournament, make hay while the sun is shining. But the amount of money that they've spent, they should be competing for the best at the very highest level. And until, it's maybe the last couple of weeks where we can say this, but until now, what have they got for all of their spend is a Conference League trophy, which, they need to be at the top end. They need to be competing with Liverpool, with Arsenal and with City next year. And to me, for all their business, buying up everybody, I don't think that they've materially closed the gap. I think the three above them have pulled away, if I'm entirely honest. What's your thoughts?
Listen, I think Chelsea have been very lucky with the draw, let's be honest. Manchester City going out was a bit of a shock to Al Hilal. And they were very lucky against Palmeiras. Palmeiras are a much better team than who they played last night. And, it was that double deflection right at the death that knocked them out. It was 1-1 at the time. Richard Rios in that team, very big fan of his. But it looks like the path to the final looked preordained, to be truthful with you. But hopefully they won't win it. I obviously, I normally like to see British clubs win, but the way Chelsea have been behaving with the financial affairs and stuff makes me feel like I'd like to see PSG go ahead and win it. And then obviously the obvious is going to happen. They're going to go to the Super Cup at Udinese and lose to Spurs next in 3 weeks. It's obvious what's going to happen. Osama, Dembele, Desiree Doué, Barcola, never heard of them.
Do you know, I thought there was massive money on the go for the Super Cup. I think you get 8 million or 9 million, I think it is, for qualifying, and you get an extra 1 million for winning it. So, it's nothing, is it? It's nothing in comparison to the FIFA Club, the World Club Cup. It is what it is.
Listen,
it is what it is.
It's short work. Someone's got to do it, and let's be honest, most clubs would have given their right up. As much as they're complaining, most of the clubs have been happy, I think, to have taken part in it for the riches that are on offer. You're not playing 12 games or anything like that, So, listen, good luck to them. I'm really looking forward to tonight's game, PSG versus Real Madrid. PSG missing 2 players after they were sent off, and Real Madrid missing 1. So that could be quite interesting, how that game pans out. Personally, I really like to see PSG win it. I've really enjoyed their football this season. It's been fantastic. But Alonso is already having an effect on on that team. You can see there's.
Big up to everyone with the I can tell everyone's in a good mood this morning. Just quickly, I'm a little bit concerned. I think the Bears cave Dan. He might be outside my house. I'm in Newhall, so.
Up in Newhall.
I think that is that. Are you the guy that's been hanging around saying, "Oh, outside the house"? Is that you? Is that you, Dan? Good to see you all. Good to see you all, mate. Let's get into the transfer news. Let's start with this story, shall we? But we'll come to West Ham's financial situation. There's a bit of breaking news there that was quite interesting, and I want you to read that out for us. But just quickly, the sort of breaking news I saw last night or this morning, rather, was not only are Besiktas desperate to get hold of a player that Tottenham have been linked with, Liverpool have been linked with, a wonderful player. I did a video on him yesterday and the day before, such as my love of this guy, Köçkü. He has come out and said that he really wants to go to Besiktas and that he wants to leave Benfica. At the very same time, mate, there's another player who plays for Turkey who was only signed by Benfica last summer, in Kerem Aktürkoğlu. I don't know if you remember Aktürkoğlu. He played when he was in Galatasaray. He played against us. Played against.
Postecoglou's cousin, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He is, yeah. But I think he was the guy when he was playing for Galatasaray. I think he was the guy that scored against Manchester United in last season's Champions League, and we were linked to him. He ended up going to Benfica, and he now wants to go back to Turkey as well, to Besiktas. And the story is that the Besiktas are going to have to pay 35 to 40 million for it. And like I say, Benfica get their money. Besiktas seem to have a hell of a lot of money. I know we're saying that a lot of these things are loan deals, but actually not all, like Benfica are the sort of team that say, if you want them, then you're going to have to pay the money.
I understand that, but they will look at like a 5-year payment plan, right? Where they're paying him maybe £5-6 million a year. I'm telling you, Sean, they don't have the money.
I know you know. I know. Yeah, I agree with you.
They're poor payers. There's been many incidences of players waiting a month or so for wages. They're not the best. Having spoken to people in football, and that was the rumor. Whether or not it's improved, I'm not sure. But, I've explained on here a few times, there is a reason why their transfer window is open 1 week longer than anyone else's. I think it's wrong. I think they should toe in line with the rest of it. But because they're in the Bosphorus, they said, well, we're really in Asia. We're in the European side of the Bosphorus when it suits us. But when the transfer window closes, we're on the Asian side. They shouldn't be getting that extra week, because what it enables them to do is to pick up all of the players that clubs wanted to get rid of but haven't managed to get rid of, that are clogging up the books. So the Turkish clubs go to the clubs and say, look, we're willing to take him off your hands. We're not going to pay what you want, but we're willing to offer you this. Take it or leave it. And very often, the clubs do take it. As we know, Victor Osimhen, which we're going to come on to now, Osimhen, Napoli wanted £100 million, right? They weren't going to get 100 million euros, should I say. They didn't get that. And then we saw he went on loan to Galatasaray for this summer. Then he was coming back to Napoli, and there was rumours he was going to go to the Premier League, or he didn't want to go to Italy because of the racism. And there was that thing, wasn't there? They did a video where they say looked like a Malteser. Was that?
No, coconut.
A coconut. Sorry. Yeah. Coconut.
Not ideal. Not ideal. It was a club video, I think, that was leaked.
Yeah,
absolutely. Someone in the YouTube. Yeah. But look, I mean,
it's disgraceful. So, but my point here is that they turned down £70 million bid from Al Hilal. Not interested in going there. Now Fenerbahce, Galatasaray have come in and they say, well, we'll pay the 75 million euros, but we want to play it over 5 years. Now, that doesn't really massively help Napoli, because they need the money up front, because they want to buy Darwin Núñez from Liverpool. And Liverpool are not going to allow Napoli to pay for Darwin Núñez over 5 years for the 40-odd million that he wants.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I think these are the things that I'd love to get an agent on to clarify, because what you're saying makes absolute sense, right? But by extension of that, look, some deals, and we know from Tottenham Hotspur's accounts that we still owe 280 million or whatever it is, some obscene amount of money from transfers over the last 3 or 4 years. Obviously, there's a difference between amortization on your books versus cash flow from the transfers that are coming in and going out. So some transfers, there are going to be heavier payments up front, or maybe later payments, and it all comes down to the negotiation. Sometimes it's like the player wants to join, the club are okay at the number, the buying club are okay at the number. Like maybe in the case, I mean, it's probably not the case with Mohamed Kudus. I think that at the moment we're still quite short of their evaluation, but the structure of the payments is often the cause of delay, because, Club A might say, I want to receive 30% up front, and then the last 70% you could spread it over the next 4 years or whatever, or 40% up front. But the Club B might say, well, I can't do that because we're already committed to these things elsewhere for the previous trades. And unfortunately, unless I can get this guy out of the door, and that club isn't willing to give us any more than 15% upfront. So it's just like a cash flow consideration. So I would imagine, Johnny, like I completely agree with what you're saying. I would just imagine that most of the reason why sometimes these transfers take forever to get from the point of it's done, but it's not yet finalized. It's like agreed in principle, but it's not yet finalized, is because of the domino effect of other things that are happening. And it's like a house, like you're trying to sell a house, right? You're caught in a chain. You've agreed to buy your house from someone else, but you can't do it until someone else sells their house, who buys your house, and the person behind them can't do it.
Yeah,
and so
it's a chain. It's
a domino effect that has to all fall into place to be perfect.
I mean, look, you're looking at a clean deal for Christian Norgard, for example, at Arsenal. If you look at that deal and you say to yourself, well, why has that deal not been announced? And the reason is the intricacies of the contract. There's so many intricacies on this on the contract that it takes a long while. I mean, that deal was announced, 2 weeks ago, Norgard, and yet still hasn't been ratified. We know it's going to happen. 100% it's going to happen. But there's so many details and subsections and everything on the contract. You know, what if someone comes in? What if he misses X amount of games? Bonuses tied in. You know, they present the contract. Then Norgard's agents and representative, their lawyers have to look at it, and they go backwards and forwards until they're all happy about the minute detail in the contract, and then it's signed, and then it's done. And then of course, you've got the medical and stuff, and we've seen sometimes deals fall apart. Nusa is one last year that happened for Brentford. Something with his knee, they weren't happy with it, but it looked like it was a done deal, and then it wasn't. So these deals, I think, going out to Turkey, the loan deals will have loads of caveats in them. I'm sure of it. If he plays X amount of games, they'll be trying to wean it. You pay us that money, whatever happens to Victor Osimhen, if you're going to loan him, right? No matter what. And they're saying, well, no, if he gets injured and he only plays 10 games, we're only going to pay you this. And they said, well, that's your worry. Take out insurance, so on and so forth. These are all the intricacies of a potential loan deal. And then
we'll have to see. I think Connor's come in with a cheeky chat is saying, good to see Connor, based on deals we've seen disclosed, e.g. when clubs have borrowed against future cash coming in, cash flow is generally never quite as delayed as the amortization and normally more front-ended. There you go, right? So, there's a massive difference between amortized spend on your books versus the cash flow. But
correct,
I'm sure there's situations out there where certain clubs have got a shitload of already committed cash for other things that have gone in the past, or that the club that they're trying to sell a player to has got the similar situations, and it just creates a domino, like I say, a spiraling of. And so you have the smart money men that are sitting there going, well, how can we move money around to make all of this work, in the short term to get the deal? And these things just take time. And someone else was saying there.
Stop a deal, though, Sean, it can actually stop a deal, because if a club's cash flow is poor and the buying club says, look, I can only afford to give you 10 million of the 60 million now, we'll pay the rest, and that 10 million doesn't alleviate the problems of the selling club, then they can't do the deal. And we're not privy to some of these things that go on. So
that's what I mean. So we get frustrated at the kind of the banality of the situation. We're saying, like, well, why is it taking so long? Just get it done. But unfortunately, it's a moving jigsaw, isn't it? There's always, every club is getting involved in certain things. It's a very complex beast. That's why I would absolutely adore the opportunity to speak to someone that's still involved at high end in the agency world, that can sort of show us an example contract. Redact whoever's name it is. Like, how many pages are in a contract, Johnny? Do you reckon? Is it like 100 pages? Is it?
Listen, like I was always told by my father-in-law, who was a very smart man, no longer with us, unfortunately. When I first met him, he said to me, he said, why are you doing that? I said, I'm reading my contract. He said, yeah, you're doing it all wrong. Yeah, read the contract in reverse. He says, because the bad stuff that you don't want to see is always towards the end, right? Because what happens, you start beginning and you start to lose concentration. You like, this all looks good. All looks good. The crap is always buried near the end. And therefore, Always good to look. The super sticker train is still going. Ulrika Johnson, thank you very much.
Another one. Well done. Choo choo. Stopped off at Ulrika Johnson station, and we picked her up. Good to see you, Ulrika. Car.
Come on. What's the next station we're stopping off at, Sean?
We'll find out. Hopefully it's not a fast train straight to their final destination. We'll find out who's the next stop. Thank you very much, Ulrika. Thank you very much for everyone that's tuned in. There's 400. Wow, 415 people here already. That's insane. We've been going for 20 minutes. By the way, guys, I don't want to get bored of saying it, because I hope you're not bored of hearing it, because we just want to make sure you know how appreciative we are. So please do smash the like button. If you can't find the generosity in your heart to throw in a super sticker train stop, then at least throw in a little pit stop at the like button. That would be sensational.
Or the subscribe button. And if you're new here and you just stumbled upon us, please tell us who you support and where you're based. We've got people from all over the world that pop in, which is great to see. And as time goes on, we shall see more and more people from all over the place. And thank you guys for your support. It's much respected.
Do you think we have we done enough? We've done the Victor Osimhen deal, because now apparently he will sign for the 75 million. Galatasaray are going to pay the 75 million. They are triggering the clause. That's according to Sky Italia.
But it's what they're negotiating is they want to pay over 5 years. It's 75 million euros. Yes, correct?
Correct.
And I think they want to deduct the loan fee that they've already paid from that fee. It's going to be interesting to see who's financing that deal, Sean.
Well, look, if you're one side of that bridge to the other, mate, maybe the financing is held in one bank on one side, and it doesn't quite make its way over to the side that's compliant with European law. I'm not sure. We shall see. As I said, we said it 1,000 times. It doesn't in any. When you look at the revenues of these clubs over there, the big three, Besiktas, Fenerbahce, and Galatasaray, the revenue streams do not align with the ambitions of the football clubs. So there has to be something happening. There has to be something happening. We're actually closing the Turkey segment, Noel. We're closing the Turkey segment. We've spoken about I'm 100% going to create a little video.
These Turkish people, these are Turkish that vote for Christmas, because it's time to start negotiating for more deals. This Turkey loved Christmas, honestly. They can see all the clubs that are stressing out and trying to get players they can't get rid of. But if you have gone cold turkey, as Chad just mentioned, we have delivered. No need to shiver and shake. We've delivered you the content. Let's move away from Asia.
Move away for a moment. I'm sure we'll come back.
You're on.
Manchester United and Juventus have discussed. This is according to Mark Bruce, who is the editor-in-chief of Court Offside. He's saying that Juventus and United have now discussed the possibility of a swap deal involving Sancho and Dusan Vlahovic. I'm not sure that's new information from Court Offside, but
I know who's got the best deal there.
Well, let's talk about Dusan Vlahovic, because Tottenham have been linked with Dusan Vlahovic over the last couple of days. And according to reports that I've seen, Tottenham have actually entered discussions with Juve. Obviously, you've got the Paratici thing, the plate spinning thing. Maybe he's finally starting to give us something to chew on as a content creator. But Tottenham have been linked with both Dusan Vlahovic and Douglas Luiz, mate. And obviously, their interest is in Bissouma. Of the two, let me just ask this.
Double. You listen, Sean, right? I'll
take the double for sure.
Fabio loves a double bubble, right? Okay. He's done it before with Kulu and Bentancur, straight out of Juve. And there's also the other one we haven't missed out is De Vinter, right?
Only De Vinter, yeah. He's not at Juve, is he? He's
not at Juve, but he was at Juve, come through Juve, gone to Genoa. And Belgium international, lovely player, 23 years of age, right centre back. So, he's probably got his fingers in all three of those pies. And which one will he pull out? Personally, I'd sacrifice them all to get Kolo Muani. because that number that they're quoting after the amortization of 60 million euros for Kolo.
No, it's 50 million euros.
I thought it was 60 million euros, 50 million pounds. You might be right.
I thought that's why I was so shocked yesterday. I thought it was
even 60 million euros, Sean. When you're being quoted 60 million pounds for Kudos.
And PSG talk are saying that they're not willing to pay Juve are not willing to pay.
They can't.
That they're not willing to pay the 40 million that they have. So I think I'm not sure about this, but I think Juve didn't pay any of the salary, but they paid like some ridiculous loan fee for him.
They paid 3.6 million euros loan for the period from January to the end to July, right? 3.6 million.
So it says here that the Club World Cup semi-finalists are now only willing to consider a permanent transfer worth 40 million euros.
Well,
it's even lower.
Listen, they paid 95 or 90. It was around 95 million euros. For Mawani from Eintracht Frankfurt, who was smashing it up. He didn't quite fit in there, but
95 million euros, correct? Yeah, 95 million euros.
Yeah, and there's so many players, such an abundance of talent. He's gone to Juve and he hit the ground running. And even in the Club World Cup, I think he played 4 games or 3 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, or 3 goals, 1 assist, something like those numbers. He's a guaranteed. He's got the physicality, he's got the pace, he's got everything you want. How that guy has not been snapped up by a Premier League club, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up at Man City or wherever. Because
also all the other reports here I'm looking at. Sorry to interrupt. Microsoft, MSN. One Football, they're all saying that they're asking for 50 million. They basically want just over half their money back. So 50 million euros, right? They paid 95. They want 50. Some people are saying 40, but it's not 60. And as we said yesterday, like it feels like that 60 million euro tag seems to be the line in the sand of a top player. Above 60 is top. Below 60 is not quite top tier. Kolo Muani, for me, should be in the tier above, right? As a player, he's top draw. And people were like, well, he went off the boil at PSG. Well, they didn't show that at Juventus. He got 8 goals in 16 Serie A games. So, for me...
And was their best player in the... probably one of the best players in the World Club Cup.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. For me, I'm like... I don't understand why Tottenham... Why anybody, if I'm entirely honest. He's physically strong enough. He's fast enough. He's tactically astute. There's nothing wrong with him. He's a brilliant... There's no reason why you wouldn't want him.
Listen,
probably.
Not even probably, definitely, right? His take on his success...
Slightly different. I think he's a slightly different type of player, though, personally.
I just think he's...
if you said to me right now, would you take Mohamed Kudus or would you take Kolo Muani at Tottenham? Like, if you had to pick one? I'd pick Muani.
I'll take Muani all day long, right? I was actually excited. Spurs fans were sold Muani, and then gave us Matthias Tell, who gave us 1 penalty goal, 1 deflected, 1 penalty, 1 deflection that went in, and 1 goal in. I think that's all he scored in 32 games here and in Germany last season. I think he's a top player, and if you watched him in the Club World Cup. He was eating up the ground for me, so I would definitely take him. But look, back to we went off topic there, which is not unusual for us. But Vlahovic, can he rekindle the form? The fact that Juventus are trying to pay him out of his contract is incredible, considering how hard they fought to get him out of Fiorentina. They paid top dollar. Everyone was fighting for him. A lot of clubs fighting for him in the Premier League and throughout Europe. They got their man.
Arsenal wanted him. Tottenham were looking at him. Villa were looking at him.
Everyone was wanting him. And, he's gone to Juve and he just has not performed. And, you could understand.
His numbers are not actually as bad as I thought they were. When I looked at them, I was actually surprised. I think he's got basically a goal or a contribution every other game, which isn't that bad. But I just think that his transition to the Premier League, he's not far. I don't think he's fast enough. He's got shoulders to die for. Like, he's got a swimmer's physique. Like, it's enough to turn a man.
Sharon Davis are you equating him to Sharon Davis? Are you? Those of you who don't know who Sharon Davis is, she was a former, I think, was she butterfly swimmer?
I'm not sure what she was, but she's definitely fallen afoul of the swimmer's physique in the women's race.
Look, the thing is with Vlahovic, right? If he was performing, Sean, why would they pay up his contract? It's as simple as that. There's a reason. There's a reason that they're not happy with him. Look, I can understand it if he'd gone from Fiorentina to another league and found that league difficult, like going from Fiorentina to the Premier League. But he's remained in the same league, but not with the same output, with better players surrounding him. But I think Flatmer Whitbread. I think if you had a choice, I think I'd rather take my chances with Vlahovic than Jadon Sancho, because I don't think Vlahovic has been a troublemaker as such, whereas Jadon Sancho doesn't seem to have stayed anywhere for far too long. I don't know what you're thinking on that.
Listen, I'm more than happy. Like, Tottenham's track record with Juventus trading has been really good. Compared to, Bentancur was a write-off. Kulusevski was, although to be entirely honest, I remember specifically this was the first one in my time as a content creator, my first opportunity to say, like, nah, if we get this guy and everyone's saying, oh, he's not wanted by Juve, why do we want him? It was on deadline day. I was on Irish Hotspur with Dave, Jack, Matt Hayes, and Brian Daigle. And most people weren't that familiar with Kulusevski. I was like, Kulusevski is like, he's an insane player. I was like, when he's on it, he's brilliant. The way that he could thread a pass and stuff. And I remember everyone going, oh, what do you know about him? And I was like, well, I just know what I'm telling you, giving you my opinion. But I'd only been in content for a couple of months. And so I was a bit nervous about putting yourself out there with some takes. And I'm so happy that we got him, because when Kulusevski is on, when he's fully fit, when he's firing Mr. Forlungs, absolutely insane. And so I trust Paratici's track record with Italy. He got Udogi spot on. He got Bentancur spot on. He got Kulusevski spot on. He obviously knows the Juventus system. He's very much ingrained in that DNA of that football club.
You can add
Coney the Winter. If we were to get, if Paratici is the guy pushing for some of these players, I would hand over to him and say, you understand the Premier League. You understand that it's a different pace. You understand the requirements. If you think players that are no longer needed, quote unquote, needed at Juve, and we're pushing for them, I 100% trust Paratici in that regard.
Can I give you a bit of a breaker? Just come in. According to Damesh, Tottenham Hotspur remain interested in Brentford's Johan Visser this summer. The Congo
Johan, I think it's Johan Visser.
Yeah, Johan Visser. The Congo forward was of interest to them in January and has been maintained throughout this year. Brentford are aware of it, but there has been no contact. Now, remember, Visser only has a year left on his contract.
Who's that coming from? What's that story from?
From Sky.
From Sky?
From Damesh.
It's not a bad little link there, Johnny. Not a little bad little breaker.
But going back to Manchester United, which is what we were on, Brentford would be unlikely, though, to sell Visser and Manchester United target Bryan Mbeumo. Now, the Bryan Mbeumo deal looks like Manchester United feel that is going to be tied up this week, and they will meet Brentford's valuation, or they will come to an agreement. Now, they can say, for example, that they aren't going to sell Visser. The problem they got, Visser's only got 1 year left on his contract. And he turns 29 in September. So you're not going to get big money for him. I mean, they only paid £7 million for him in 2021. Great scouting for a guy who's delivered that sort of return. But I think that, listen, they were tied up in Mbeumo. I do worry a bit about Brentford this season. I really do. They're literally taking everything out that club, and there will come a point where they'll say no. But can you really say no to a player that's only got a year left and allow him to walk, Sean?
Well, it depends on the motivations of the player. I always think if you've got a year left, I mean, look, we've spoken about this 100 times, mate. it feels to me like there's a bit of a general cop blocking across the Premier League with players that have got left on their contract, but they're not seemingly wanting to force a move. They're seemingly wanting to stop a move so that they can run the contract down and go next year to a place where they can pick up obscene money. Like, I'm not calling Sonny a cop block, by the way. I'm just using him as an example. Sonny's one, Richie's one, Bissouma might end up being one at Tottenham alone. You've got Casemiro, you've got Jadon Sancho that possibly doing it over at Manchester United. You've got Konate at Liverpool that might be doing the same thing. You've got Gahey at Crystal Palace that might be doing the same thing. So generally speaking, I would say, to answer your question, if you've got a year left on your contract, I feel like the club has very little leverage. They probably need to sell the player unless they're confident that they can convince him to re-sign.
But Sean, they don't care from the point of view of the fact that they only cost him $7 million in 2021. So what can they be asking for him? He's not on a big wage. He's only got a year left on his contract, and he is 29 years of age, which is a block. But if you're buying him for 10, 15 million pound, that's not really a problem.
Yeah, but I think Brent. So first of all, what I would counter is that just because Brentford, just similar to how most clubs would look at Manchester United and say, just because you misspent on Rasmus Højlund doesn't mean that I've got to pay for your mistake, right? But just because Brentford got a bargain a few years ago doesn't mean that someone else should benefit from that. What I would say is that Brentford would probably. I'm not saying you are saying that. I'm just throwing that into the conversation. What I would say is that Brentford are possibly going to look at that if what you're saying is true, that 15, 20 million pound would be the asking price for a 29-year-old, and probably not a bad thing, not a bad price. For me, it's the opportunity cost. Are Brentford going to look at losing Visser and go, well, I need your 20 goals, your 15 goals, 20, whatever, because if I don't have them and I lose out on Mbeumo as well, then we're going to get sucked into a relegation battle. And all of the last 10 years of progress that Brentford have put in are them for nothing.
That's exactly my point, though. They don't need to. The fact that they've only spent 7 million, it's been amortized. They can afford to let him go or play the long game with him and play tough ball and say, look, you're not going. We're not selling you.
We need you this year. We need you this year.
Well, here we go. Sunderland agreed Adingra fee. Sunderland have agreed a fee with Brighton for Simon Adingra. Sunderland will pay Brighton. Yeah, £18 million. Sunderland really going for it. 18 million plus 2.5 million add-on for the winger. The 23-year-old has flown to the northeast by private jet and is undergoing a medical this afternoon. Personal terms are also agreed. Sunderland tried to sign the Ivory Coast international in January in a swap for Tommy Watson, but it fell through. He's Sunderland's 5th signing of the summer and takes their spending to over £100 million.
Fucking fair play to them, mate.
I mean,
fair play. And they haven't signed any bozos in there. They've not signed anybody that's a terrible player. Everyone that they've bought is smart, is really clever. Adingra's a really useful player, really useful. He terrorised Tottenham a couple of years ago. No, last summer, last season before one that's just finished.
We take it all back. We take it all back, Sunderland, because Sean and I at the beginning thought that Leeds would make a big play under the 49er group, the new owners. They'd make a play, and maybe Sunderland might be the weak one. Their squad, to me, looked the weakest, but they are addressing that. And £100 million spent on 5 players so far.
All of whom go straight into their first team as well.
Correct. And they're not bad players as well. Leeds are at it. I think now Burnley have buying players. Listen, for a 23-year-old, should they go down, this guy is still going to be worth good money. He's a
really good deal. It's a really good deal. I'm really impressed. I'm really, really impressed. I genuinely mean this. I think the top end of the transfer, the top end of the league next season is going to be it's going to be interesting to see how the three, Liverpool, obviously, we're losing Jota. What's that impact on their psyche? That's a factor that might give City or an Arsenal edge. Arsenal, obviously, if they get Gyökeres done, what else they've done, it closes the gap. City have been rebuilding steadily for the last 6 months. I spent, 400 million quid in the last 6 months or something silly. And obviously, Chelsea, I still maintain I don't think Chelsea have really pulled away. I think they've kind of swapped like for likes to a large degree, although they've, maybe they've improved. They've improved a little bit. They have improved, but I don't think they've necessarily, they certainly haven't closed the gap on the teams above them. Those guys have pulled away. But at the bottom end of the market, bottom end of the transfer of the league, I think it's going to be fascinating, Johnny. I think it's going to be fascinating.
Well, we don't want a repeat of what happened last year. That's not good for the league. It's not good for competitiveness when you're playing three teams that can't win a game together. Look, they got 40 million for Joe Bellingham, but they still gone and spent 60 million pound, and and I think good luck to them. Talking of Chelsea, actually,
this guy Taubé they got from Bruges is a proper baller.
Yeah, it's a good player. Listen, Bruges produced some very good players, and I think Bruges will be selling quite a few this season. Armand Deshari, there's a few that could well be leaving this summer. Interesting one here is that Bournemouth, who refused to sign Kepa from Chelsea because they weren't that impressed, have now gone and made an offer for Chelsea goalkeeper Dorji Petrovic. Petrovic is said to be intrigued by Bournemouth project and is open to moving to the South Coast. The news understands Chelsea want 25 million for the 25-year-old, and Bournemouth are hopeful of signing the player amid interest from other clubs. Now, I think it's interesting that they didn't want Kepa, who's gone to Arsenal for 5 million, which is about what he's worth, over having spent 72 million buying him. If this deal goes ahead, does that mean that Chelsea will then go for Emi Martinez? Do you think?
Possibly.
Pay the money.
Yeah, I mean, look, Petrovic. I mean, he's third. He was third choice or second choice behind someone that was barely ever played. Getting 20 million for him, 5 million. Getting 5 million for a third choice and 20 million for a first choice. Oh, for a second choice goalkeeper. It's good business from Chelsea again. Like they just don't mind. They don't mind. They seem to have this ability to just go into negotiations in good faith and recoup good money. They spend a lot of money. They create good relationships with their vendors, their counterparties. It's a different method of how you do business because they have a different relationship with the amount of zeros on a transfer fee, Johnny. And like this guy, Todd Bowley, and whoever it is that's pulling the triggers for them, they don't mind if someone goes, "No, I want 65," and you bid 60. Oh, fuck, okay, whatever, done. And then that creates an open relationship. The next time that you can go back and go, it's just going in with good faith. Get these things getting moving. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant method. I can't stand the fact that they do what they do. I haven't got a problem with them. I've got a problem with the rule makers for how they manipulate. But that's the rule makers' problem, not Chelsea's problem.
Properly.
The way that Chelsea engage in transfers, I think, is fucking excellent. I think it's so smart.
That's how everyone wants their club to. I mean, look, there was another player, Jonathan Stringer's just mentioned him, who's a big fan of his, which is Amari Hutchinson, who Chelsea had. They sold him to Ipswich for 25 million. I was banging on about him and what a great player he is and was. I don't know if you watched him in the England under-21s. He was very impressive in the England under-21s. I was a big fan of him before he went to Ipswich. 25 million. He's now got a release clause of 35 million. And I think that's a great deal. This is a player with low centre of gravity.
Yeah,
he's a real handful.
You've liked him for a while as well, haven't you? You've spoken about him for a long time.
Yeah, a long while. Guys, if you're in the chat and you've just arrived and you haven't hit the like button, please hit that like button. It helps us with the algorithm. It's helping us grow. We can't do it without you. And the same
550 people here, guys. Amazing numbers for Wednesday lunchtime. We really appreciate it. Sorry, Johnny, carry on with your...
I was just going to say, if you are here for the first time, please let us know where you're from, what team you support, and please hit the subscribe button. No, it doesn't cost money, but it tells us where it lets you know when we're next going to be on, because we could be on anytime from 9:30 in the morning to 9:30 at night at the moment. Obviously, it'll be more settled as we get through the summer. Right, what else you've got there?
Before we get any further, mate, we got two more stops on the Super Sticker train. We just pulled into Cat Funt Station a little while ago. Picked up Mr. Cat Funt. Thank you very much, buddy. I really appreciate you. And then next stop on the way towards Football Inc. Junction, we've also had to stop off at AJ Post. Who's dropped in with another another stop on the I love the Super Sticker train. It's such a cool idea. Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate your Super Stickers. And it's a lovely little way. Like I say, if everyone put in £1 in the Super Sticker train, we'd be able to get a really good looking and very knowledgeable football lady who's going to come and be a bit of the aesthetics.
Or a studio, Sean. I mean, I'm sure that will be gravitating. Watch this spot. We're on the way. We're on the move.
Just quickly, before we move on to another story, I just wanted to ask. I don't know if you're still watching Gary, Geo 1961.
Gary,
I think it is. Who's he sent me on Twitter. Sorry, on Instagram. Gary Olnick. He sent me an example of a football contract. And I don't know if I'm allowed to. This is from Tottenham, so I don't know if I'm allowed to bring this up, mate. Can you, if you're still watching, can you let me know? Because I'd love to be able to show it to everyone. It's really interesting.
We want to get Gary on the show. We've got a booking. I wanted to do it this week. We'll try and do it for next week. We need to talk over what you can and what you can't say. And because obviously we don't want to get him into trouble. But
he knows a thing or two about a thing or two. But we love he sent this to me, Gary. I just don't know if I'm allowed to bring it up, mate. I don't want to bring up something that. But what you've said is what you sent me is really interesting. So I'd love to show it. If you're still watching, let me know if I can, and we'll bring it up on the screen. In the meantime, Johnny, carry on with your next link, mate. If you've got one, or I've got one.
Sorry, where are we? Sorry, I've just you threw me there. I was just looking at the other stories. Evan Ferguson has emerged as a surprise option for Roma as they look for a new striker this summer. Initially, Brighton said they were only interested in a loan deal, but now that has changed according to Fabrizio Romano, and they are willing now to sell. We knew the news out of Southampton that Tyler Diblin has attracted plenty of interest from Premier League clubs and also from Bundesliga clubs, although he's expected to be way too expensive for clubs in Germany. And what else have we got? Darwin Núñez, as we mentioned. Darwin Núñez very open to the
move to Bayern.
Yeah. Manchester United are targeting a move for Sporting Lisbon centre-back Gonçalo Inácio on an initial loan with a view to paying off it next season for €40 million in a permanent transfer. And Manchester United are also keen to do a potential deal on a player who I very much admire, and that's Atalanta's midfielder Ederson, who would likely cost around 52 million. Now, that has come from Brazilian Goal Brasilia, that story. And one from caught offside for Manchester United. Antony's permanent transfer to Real Betis looks closer than ever as the Manchester United winner is ready to take a massive pay cut to join the La Liga club after his loan there. So big up to Antony, because a lot of players wouldn't be willing to take that cut. One player that is interesting, had a very good England under-21 tournament, Sean, yet no one's moved in for him just yet, but I expect it to happen, is James McAtee, who's available for 20 to 25 million. He's got a lot of interest from the Bundesliga clubs because I think he's on that threshold, 20, 25 million, that is attainable for your Borussia Dortmunds and your, say, average Italian clubs, well, I might say average, Romas and the likes. Atalanta are also interested in him and looking at him to potentially replace Ederson, who's obviously an interest to Manchester United.
Right, yeah, 100%. Can you see Ederson going to Manchester United, though?
He's a fantastic player. I mean, whether or not, it depends what they offer him. What's the story they're offering him? I mean, does that mean Ugarte surplus to requirements? Does that mean, because they know Casemiro, the problem is Casemiro is there to the end of the season, so they've got to pay him. So it makes sense to do a loan. They got other players, maybe do a loan with an option to buy, not an option, a commitment to buy. But Atalanta will need the money, obviously, to buy any replacement like Jason McAtee. Is
McAtee linked to Atalanta, is he?
Yes.
I haven't seen that one. Fucking hell. He's an interesting player, Jason McAtee. Like I think he's got all the potential in the world, but just sort of sometimes you're just crowded out, aren't you? when you're playing amongst superstars, you're just not going to get almost a little bit similar to different types of players, but a little bit like the Harvey Elliott, like, really, really a cracking player, but no one's going to put that player in the top 10 players in either of those clubs. And so as a consequence of that, he might leave and become a big fish somewhere else. And Jason McAtee, obviously a bit younger again, but both players are certainly like worth their weight in gold to specific teams. I'd be I would imagine if Jason McAtee leaves, going across to Atalanta, I don't know, like I think he should. I think he's already in the best league in the game. Why wouldn't you just go to a team and smash it out of the park? Imagine if he ended up going to like a Leeds or something, and then had like a relegation release you put in it.
Yeah,
I know. I'm definitely better than that. But like I'm saying, but where does he? Maybe Aston Villa. If Aston Villa were to have to sell a few players to make a bit of wiggle room, if they were going to sell like a Jacob Ramsey, if they were going to sell someone in that kind of attacking ilk. I don't know where Jason McAtee will end up, but really interesting player.
One player that Barcelona are going to go for and are going to sign because it comes into their price structure is a player that lots of clubs in Europe were after. That's the Croatian wonder kid, Lovre Šelfri from Dynamo Zagreb. He's meant to be the next Croatian wonder kid, the Luka Modric type, £500,000. And that's the sort of deal that Barcelona can do. Get him in, like Rooney Badaj, get him in for only £2 million and hopefully turn him good and then sell him on to ease some of their finances, some financial issues that they've got. It's a good deal. The deal.
Did I say Jason McAtee or did Johnny say Jason McAtee? Because I'm sure I said James McAtee. Did I say Jason?
Yeah, James McAtee. There you go,
James McAtee. Just to clarify, yeah. If it was a fat finger of the mouth.
Guys, you have to remember, like we're going to make mistakes. Okay, when you're trying to remember and trying to talk about
800 fucking players a day.
Yeah, right. You're going to get it wrong. I mean, the other day I said Ruud van Nistelrooy, his time at Leeds, and I meant Leicester because they both begin with L-E.
Yeah.
Right? I've got it wrong. Held my hands up. It happens.
I put out a video talking about Tottenham's pivot towards aerial supremacy, and that all the players we're looking for are set piece magicians, like aerial threats, yada yada yada. And in so doing, I said, all of our activities are looking around set piece improvements and to take advantage of aerial threats. And I threw Mohamed Kudus' name in there. But then I then used like an auto, like a tool that basically like grabs some of the content, puts it out in shorts. And I don't even look at the way that they word the titles. And the title was like Tottenham building on aerial supremacy, Kudus an example. And I got like 10 people going, Geezer's 5'8". And I was like, yeah, that's fine, fair enough. But go and watch the video. I wasn't saying that Kudus is going to be an aerial threat. I'm saying that he's going to be the set piece guy that can put the ball in the box. So sometimes people just love to tell you when you make. They wait around for you to say something that they can jump. They can latch on to.
We're going to do it. And you guys in the chat and the guys who message me, who listen to the audio when we've made a mistake, no problem. Keep it coming. We're here to be put on and especially guys are coming from different clubs. We're talking about all these different clubs, and sometimes we're going to get something wrong. And we're happy to for you guys to put us back on track. Just quickly before we leave Barcelona, they're also considering whether or not to trigger the £25 million release clause for Denzel Dumfries, aka Denzel Washington. I'm not sure. I'm
at Man City, isn't he?
Yeah, I would think that is one that could end up in the Premier League. I'll tell you who is looking to move. Though Bayern Munich are now looking after the injury to Musiala. They're now looking at potentially loaning Christopher Nkunku, which is interesting. But not only are they looking to get Christopher Nkunku, they're also interested in another Chelsea player in the former young defender Renato Vega. I mean, it's It's unbelievable. Chelsea have like got this stable of players that even ones that don't get in the team.
They signed 18 forwards under Todd Bowley's tenure. 18, not players, forwards, Johnny. Forwards.
So we have to remind him that, you know, there is a defensive element of
their defense is still very questionable to me. Like the likes of Badia, Chile, like the rest of them. Like there's so many in that shit. If Chelsea was to go and sign a world class centre back and a world class, they might get it in Emi Martinez, a world class, like a top draw goalkeeper, even though he's at the tail end of his career. But if they were to go and get, you know, if they were to go and spend big money, I mean, you know what, mate, they might go and get Scalvini for what it's worth. They might step in last minute and go and get the next big thing or something like that. For what it's worth, quick sidetrack. Apparently, Arsenal's attempts to sign Valencia defender Christian Mosquera have stalled as the La Liga club are asking for more than £20 million. I'll be entirely honest. I know that Arsenal they're looking for squad depth rather than anything else, but I mean, Tottenham were linked with Mosquera. I ran him through the Y-Scout. I did a report on him about a month ago. I wasn't that impressed with Mosquera when I saw him on the Y-Scout. YouTube highlights look insane. You go into the everything reel and you start digging down into his departments. It's not long in the clips before you start finding a lot of like haphazard decision making. So I'm not sure he's the...
He's young though, Sean. You know, like we always forget. Was he 23, 22, 23? I can't even remember now. But Yeah, but the thing is, you know, they've got a lot of improvement in him from that age. Actually, one signing that Arsenal have made, interesting, is Gabriel Heinz. Do you remember him? Manchester United, PSG, Argentinian player, former teammate of Arteta, is now going to be a new member of their coaching staff. I'm not sure if he's going to be the assistant coach, but he's been managing some clubs.
I'm pretty sure he's got about 57 varieties of his
coaching talent. I was waiting for it. I didn't know whether to lead it myself or just let you fall into it. I think,
we're here for the oldies and the goodies, you know, the old ones are the best ones.
Mr. Pox Office with a super chat. Hope the itch is gone. Here we go.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. Blousy Brown sounds like a stale loaf of bread. I'm not sure I'm not sure what Blousy Brown is relating to, but it definitely does sound like a stale loaf of lousy bread. 100%. Thank you very much. And Ulrika Johnson's come back in. Ulrika has come in to say, Johnny, this is for you, just to say Ekitike for the lols.
Right. Okay. Ekitike. No, Ekitike.
There you go. Nailed it.
I've been practicing in the bath. That's a terrible vision for you listening on audio.
I barely even fit in my bath, mate. I've been thinking about getting a custom size fit.
Are you saying you have to be hoisted in, aka Henry VIII? What a pulley system!
No, I say someone run me the bath. All they got to put is like a couple of inches of water in, because by the time I get in there, it's almost overflowing. There we go. We got a new member of the show as well, Mark. Appreciate you, mate. Coming as a YouTube member. Thank you very much for your support of the channel, mate.
Thank you, Mark.
We're going to hopefully be able to keep you entertained every day as we bring to you transfer news, views, and clues, and everything else we got planned. We've got loads planned for this channel. Loads and loads and loads. Thank you very much, my man. Thank you very much indeed. Johnny, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Brighton winger Ibrahim Osman. Has joined AJ Auxerre on loan for the 25-26 season. It's interesting. French teams are still able to attract players despite their incredible cash prices.
What that is, Sean, is the Brighton model, understanding the player, the fact that the player needs to progress, the player isn't ready for the Premier League, which club would suit his development. And they have a whole development team monitoring each week the players' development, how they're getting on, are they getting game time? The support network is there for every single player. Is probably we're one of the best in the business at doing this. And my hat goes off to them. And, they're continuing to find gems. And, they sold Adingra, they sold João Pedro. They don't sell anyone unless they know they have a contingency plan or a backup plan for the person to come in to replace them. That's as simple as that.
Yep. I hear you, mate. I hear you. In the Independent, Sam C, who works for the Independent, has said that Arsenal are confident that Ethan Nwaneri is set to sign a new long-term contract. Nothing is done yet, but a renewal is now heading in the right direction. Do you think that might be part of the reason why there's been a slight delay in the conclusion of the Madueke deal, mate, in that Arsenal are maybe aware of the fact that Chelsea might be selling Madueke just to be able to use some of that money to go and then offer Nwaneri a monster in the way of contracts and take advantage, and so they've kind of pressed pause on the whole Madueke conclusion until they can make sure that they've locked him down.
I think the Nwaneri talk was classic, absolute classic agent manipulation. Fantastic, right? We got interest from Chelsea. Let's use that interest. They're saying they want to be guaranteed minutes. Arsenal, obviously, Arteta will say, we can't guarantee you minutes. And therefore, they're saying, well, Chelsea are offering this. They're offering us a better deal. They're offering us this, that, and the other. And Arsenal, no doubt, would have upped their deal and their offer that they've offered him. So if he does sign, they've offered him, I'm not saying they've offered him all the gold that he can eat, but I think they would be offering him an absolutely substantial deal. And
what's the right price for a kid of that age and his exposure?
Listen, they do not want, the fan base would go into meltdown. They don't know about, all the signings they're making. This is a kid that's been touted. The other kid, Downey, is it? I forgot the kid, the Arsenal wonder kid. I can't remember his name. He's only about 15, 16 now. I think Downey.
I don't know, to be honest. Is it Downey, not Downing? Is it D-O-W-N-E-Y? Downey?
I can't remember his name. It will come to me in a minute. As far as Eze, I would say that Eze is more likely to go to Arsenal. I think they'll find common ground. The question is, will they offload
Trossard or Martinelli?
Or will they offload Trossard? They need to offload one, but their strength and depth is really, really scary. Really scary.
Yeah. How much does
Dowman, Marshall? Thank you very much.
Dowman, that's it.
Yeah, Dowman. I think it's about 15 or 16, but they're expecting huge things. Max Dowman. Thank you very much.
I want to talk to you a little bit for a second, mate. We've done the Turkey segment of the show. Can we do the Tottenham segment of the show? Not so much about transfers, but I just want to ask you a quick question because I know you're dialed in with the youth model quite a lot. Archie Gray was given a lot of money, wasn't he? He's on like 80 grand a week, isn't he? Is that right? Something silly like that. It's up there, right up there with like Ben Davies levels of payment.
He's on a decent wage. He's not on, insane money.
No, but for someone that came in that basically didn't, because I think we had to like fend off interest from yada yada yada. And then you compare that to Bergvall that came in and was on 10 grand a week and is subsequently now signed a new 5-year contract. He's probably getting paid something similar to Archie Gray. 75 grand, is it, Connor? Thank you, mate. There you go. Okay, yeah, I thought it was something like that, right?
Bergvall had a massive uplift, and let's be honest.
But Bergvall originally came in on, I think Bergvall originally came in on like 10 grand a week. Connor, you might be able to tell me.
He's moved to Hampstead, by the way, now, Bergvall.
Did you see that? By the way, did you see that that tweet that was talking about Johan Langer's comments? I'm going to get it up. It's madness. It's the weirdest thing.
We do analogies. We do analogies here, right? About Spurs in the transfer window, and sometimes we use women analogies like Spurs. They're all at the disco picking up all the best-looking women at the start of the transfer window, and Spurs were still stuck at home without an Uber driver because we didn't have a manager, and now we got a manager, but we don't have the driver. Can't find his way to the club. And by the time he gets to the club, all the best-looking girls are gone. His analogy of Lucas Bergvall is, I don't know, I think he should move out the analogy business. Go on.
It's super weird. So he said, I actually had to retweet it. It's Johan Langer. This is, let me get it. I'll put it up on the screen.
You got it?
Hang on, yeah, I do have it in front of me. 1 second.
Very funny because people in audio need to hear it read out.
So It was this.
You want me to read it out, or have you
I've got it right here. I just want to share it on the screen quickly. Johan Langer on Lucas Bergvall via The Athletic. He's just broken the shell. He's just out of the egg. He's still got gooey stuff coming off him. He's something special.
He's he's still got gooey stuff coming. He's like an embryo. Like he's just.
What are we doing here?
And he's got all the muck from that. I mean, honestly, I'm sure his parents will be delighted with that analogy. I mean, you could say he's just coming out of his shell and he's like a young chick.
But you take the analogy. You take the analogy so far. You don't start talking about embryonic fluid.
Gooey stuff.
What are we doing here, Johan?
I mean, this is by The Athletic. This is not by The Sun or The Mirror or The Daily Record. Just for reference here. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange comment, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What else have you got there?
I wanted to ask you a little bit just quickly about the Tottenham thing. Who are we saw about Arsenal got Wanyeri. We've got obviously Bergvall broken through, but we bought him and he came straight in. Archie, we bought him and he's come straight in. Mikey Moore, do you see Mikey Moore? I think I made the mistake of presuming that Tottenham couldn't loan him out because it would disrupt. I said this on a different channel yesterday. That we couldn't loan him out because it would disrupt the 3-year process of him being homegrown and club trained for future. Apparently, that's not the case. I'm not entirely sure how the whole rule works, but so we could loan Mikey Moore out, could we?
Yeah, he's been there, and Callum Oluwasi, right? They've both been there since 5 years of age. They're like mates. Listen, he is not short of inquiries from the Championship. You know, you've got Davis at Birmingham. They'd love him. So would what's his name, Mason at West Brom. I mean, he'll be highly in demand. The thing is, there is a balance, you know. If Frank likes him, which of course he will like him, it's what is better for the player. Don't forget, he's not 18. I think we forget he's still 17. We're talking about Archie Gray. Oh, he's still young. He's only just 19. He needs to do a lot more. This guy's 17. He's had more minutes than Phil Foden had at his age.
More minutes than I think more minutes than anyone but Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen, probably.
Well, so my point here is that the fact of the matter is, what is better for his development? To go out on loan and get the minutes, because I think he needs football. He doesn't need to be. What we don't want to see is him be at the club training with Thomas Frank, but getting the odd minute in a Premier League game. Because as we've said many times, you know, I don't want to keep using it, but we got more wingers than Nando's. We got so many wingers, we don't know what to do with them. And although I see Mikey more as a 10, because that's how I've seen him. I said to you, right from the first time I saw him as a 15-year-old, I looked at him and I thought, oh my God, I've just seen Paul Gascoigne, the way he rolled through the tackles and stuff. I mean, it was such an exciting prospect. But I think alone might be the best bet for him. I think most fans may be a bit disappointed with that, but I think on balance, that might be the best thing for him moving forward. Look, we've got some great players coming through. We've got Janai Belfield, we've got Ajay, we've got Callum Oluwasi, we've got George Abbott, who was really, really impressive for Thomas Frank in the opening training sessions. We've got so many players, Sean. The thing is, now Lewis has been moved up from the under-18 coach, Steve Lewis, to now the transition leader. So to help them, these guys transition between the big leap that it is between academy football and under 21 football, and then making their debut into the first team. A bit like how Tim Sherwood used to do it and get them ready for the Premier League and the league games. It's a very, very important role, and it is a promotion. Although on the surface of it, it might not seem it, because you're running the 18-year-old under 18s, and then suddenly you're doing something else. I think it's a really, really, really important role, and one that should not be played down. and he's a really, really, really good coach. And I think he's going to have a good effect on helping Thomas Frank progress these players. And let's be honest, Thomas Frank is someone who is very much interested in youth development because that's his background in Denmark. And it's not something that Ange Postecoglou was ever interested in. I mean, in all the time I was going to the academy games, I never, ever saw Ange Postecoglou a game, ever. So
yeah, I don't remember. I went to a couple last season. I didn't see it.
No,
well, we were at the Arsenal game together, weren't we, in North London?
Yeah, the Arsenal game. Yeah, Williams Barnett. There's so many. Listen, we got lots of talent, but the journey from academy football to Premier League football is fraught with danger. And you look at George Abbott, who went out to Notts County.
Yeah.
And, it was fantastic. Their player of the season, in the team of the season for that league. He's really, really good. I'm really impressed with him. And sometimes it's the players without the gloss that are the ones that come through, and less so the players with all the hype. There's been many of them. Josh Onomah was lauded as one of the best young talents in youth football. And along with Reece Nelson, they were probably two of the best out there. Reece Nelson is sort of struggling at Fulham, and Josh Onomah just, he's almost disappeared.
Well, this is the thing, though. You can't. This is why you have to always remember that the Boulevard of Broken Dreams is listed with the aspirations of footballers that don't make it because for whatever reason, right? So it's important to always be focusing a little bit of your attention on the youth, or a lot of your attention, and making sure that you've got a conveyor belt. But you have to also accept the fact that if you're going to pay 30, 40 million quid for a talent, not all of them, like you're paying Premier League fees for people that may or may not make it for one reason or another. And like I say, if Tottenham Hotspur are going to be this class of 91 that we spoke about before, like the new version of it, then not all of the guys that are fantastic are going to make it, right? You have to also be willing to let some of them go. Like what Manchester City did, like what Chelsea are doing, like what Tottenham are trying to do. Everybody else is playing catch up now. But at the same time, Johnny, you can't end up, it starts going from the sublime to the ridiculous if you end up, if everybody is fishing in the same pool and going and paying 20, 30, or 2 or 3 times more than what the player's worth based on pricing imperfection, assuming that everyone, and this is what's happening, right? Like Brighton made that massive mistake 2 years ago. They were asking for £100 million for Evan Ferguson. They probably could, if they priced him at 50 million quid, they could have probably got a buyer. Now the guy's worth 25 million quid, 20 million quid.
But yeah, I understand that. But I'm talking about, it's very important that you scout your own areas, you recruit well from youth level, age 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 11, 12, 13, and you recruit well, because it gets to the stage where, if you look at Arsenal, look at the players that have come through that might not have been sensational, but you look at Nketiah, who went for £30 million. You look at what's his name,
Alex Iwobi, for example.
Iwobi, £35 million, and you look at what's his name, who went to Fulham for £30 million. There's so many players now. The ones that don't come through, they're still funding your purchases. 25 million here, 30 million here. Chelsea have been doing that for a long time. Manchester City, you look at the players that Manchester City have sold over the last 3 or 4 years, you could make a fantastic team for that. They sold Cole Palmer for 45 million. Now he's looking like 30, was it 35 or 45? Can't remember now off the top of my head. But, he's looking at an absolute bargain now. Liam Delap is another one. Morgan Rogers is another one. Luis Diaz, not Diaz. What's his name? From Juventus. There's so many players.
Gildas.
No, there's so many players that have come through on these.
I know you're talking about. He went out on loan again.
Yeah, there's so many players. My point here is, you look through a whole list of the clubs like Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and they're selling off players, and they might not make the first team all the time, but they're being sold for big money. And Spurs have produced nothing, really. I mean, how we managed to get £20 million for Oliver Skipp, they should get a CBE or an MBE for managing to do that. I don't know how they did it.
Talking about not knowing how people did it, mate. Let's got to move this breaking news that's come out 1 minute ago. Thank you, Connor, for bringing that up. Mate, we can talk about youth team until the cows come home. I love talking about them, but this one is breaking news. Official: Olympique Lyon will not be relegated to Ligue 2, and the club will stay in Ligue 1. The decision has been confirmed. Mate, what are we doing there? That also, by the way, throws a massive
Crystal Palace. Goodbye.
Crystal Palace are not going to be in Europe. Nottingham Forest might be in Europe after all.
Skipp wasn't 10 million, by the way. Skipp didn't go for 10 million. He didn't go for 10 million.
This is massive, mate. This is massive. This puts the into perspective. Thiago Almada, who was a subject of a bid from Botafogo, who was on loan at Lyon. Botafogo also owned by John Textor. Benfica put in a bid for 35 to 40 million quid yesterday. It was rejected, and that was probably to replace Okonkwo or Aktürkoğlu. Now we know why, because Lyon have apparently won their appeal.
I mean, look, we know that the league without Lyon in the French league, they've got enough troubles as it is. If Lyon's demoted, the league is in a mess, right? They've got no TV deal. They've got no money coming in. And this would be an absolute disaster. Okay, so happens that PSG, recognising that, paid them the money up front for the money that they owe. A nice gesture, you would think, to help Lyon out, but they're actually helping themselves out because they maintain the strength of the league and the validity of the league. Now what happens is they've paid that. So UEFA say, okay, everything's okay. You can now be in the Europa League. And that means that we'll kick out Crystal Palace because they got no heritage.
Mate, has John Textor pulled a fucking funny one here in that he sold his stake for an underpayment, right? Or what we think is undervalued payment, took the money, dumped it into Lyon. Lyon now get to stay up and participate in the tournament that his previous club's ownership. It's like, which side was John Textor batting for?
But the problem is, Sean, it's clearly stated, the new rules clearly state, which he hasn't worked out, that if you are an owner as of the 31st of March, then it's no point. He sold his stake to the New York Jets owner, Woody Johnson. But unfortunately, on March the 31st, he was still the owner of those majority of the shares, well after the date that's accepted. And what UEFA are saying, and he's denying it, that he was involved in the appointment of Glasner as the owner. Now, obviously, Steve Parish has said, no, it wasn't. We can send you evidence that he wasn't involved in the board meetings, and this was arranged by others, and he didn't have anything to do with it. Now, they are trying to get him on a technicality here, and it absolutely stinks. And quite honestly, this whole thing with UEFA, I wouldn't be surprised if PSG had a word with UEFA and said, look, we can't have them. We need you to rub our backs. Not difficult with the amount of money that they have. Lyon have bounced back in. I mean, look how long it took them to sort this issue out. Like 10 days, a week, right? To sort this out, right? Whereas in the Premier League, it can take 5 years. It can take a year. It can take forever. And yet this is done in no time at all. It's just, honestly, it's really, really shitty behaviour, and one that's really peeing me off, actually. Listen, I've got no vested interest in Crystal Palace, but they very much deserve to be in Europe next season in the Europa League. And for Crystal Palace fans to be denied that opportunity on a technicality of the guy might have made an involvement. I mean, come on. All the breaches that have been going on in European football over the last 10, 15 years, and you're gonna pull them up on this. Give me a break.
Yeah, and the fact that UEFA allow Leipzig and Salzburg to play in the same tournament, the fact that they allowed Manchester United and Montpellier. Was it Montpellier? Who is it that is Jim Ratcliffe owns as well? The team in France, is it Montpellier or Marseille? I think it's Montpellier. The whole thing is just stinks, mate. And the fact that Chelsea can and Villa can breach rules that they cheated according to UEFA rules in the Premier League, where they didn't cheat, to earn enough points through their squad assembly to be able to qualify for a tournament, and then the punishment for breaching the rules that they qualified via allows them to continue to play in the tournament, in which they'll earn 5 or 6 times more money than the cost of the fine. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace, and I think Nottingham Forest fans are going to be delighted by this. If this is how we're figuring this out, if Nottingham Forest end up being promoted from Conference League to Europa League, then does that mean that Brighton get in?
Listen, I think the Premier League should be speaking up on behalf of Crystal Palace, right? They should be.
Will Crystal Palace still be able to participate? Will Crystal Palace still be able to? Will they get demoted to the Conference League, or will they get kicked out of Europe altogether?
I don't know, but I think it's really infuriating, right? The Premier League, who's meant to be supporting its participants, need to be getting on this. Look, Lyon needed a further £100 million in cash injection, another 100 million guaranteed for the next 2 years, says Connor. And Texter has made it happen. Well, they made it happen, Connor, by the money that PSG owed Lyon, which was meant to be paid up for 2 or 3 years, was for Barcola, was just, have all the money, that will help.
Barcola is apparently going to leave anyway now. He's going to be sold anyway to Bayern Munich. So
listen, there's something, severely stinky.
The game is done, mate. The game is done. The game is fucking done. If Palace can't qualify, can't play in Europe, I'm sorry, it's an absolute disgrace. If they can't, then Forest qualify, and whatever his name is, the shipping magnate, he gets his way. Well, I'd love to know what happens to Palace. Do they get to qualify? Do they get to play in the Conference League? Because then there's not the same overlap of. But I think that's how it would work. They get demoted to the Conference League.
I want to see the outcry. If this was Man United getting thrown out or a big club getting thrown out, there'd be absolute outrage, right? No one seems to be backing Crystal Palace. And let me tell you something. The Nottingham Forest owner, who transferred himself out of the ownership of the Forest so he wouldn't clash with Olympiacos.
But he didn't do that before March either, did he?
No, he didn't. He thought the date was still July, but the rules had changed and they made it March 31st. So he did not meet the requirements of the league.
Then Forest won't be able to play either then?
No, because the difference is they didn't make Champions League. Olympiacos were in the Champions League.
Okay, that's right. Sorry, gotcha,
so it didn't matter in the end. But had it happened, they would have had the same situation because he didn't meet the deadline. If you're in the chat and you haven't hit the like button yet, guys, please hit that like button. And if you're here for the first time and you stumbled upon us, please hit the subscribe button. We're growing lovely. With next stop 3,000 subscribers, which is crazy when we've really only probably been going for a couple of months. Is there anything else, Sean, before we sign off?
No, it's probably about the right time. We're going for an hour and 25 minutes. Don't want to take up these lovely people's time. There are some other stories, but we can pick them up tomorrow. I think the Nottingham Forest story is the story of the day now. We have to figure out what that looks like. Guys, it's 3 o'clock UK time. In an hour's time, the Devil's Advocate is back on Spurs Talk Show. Johnny's coming over with me, and Dave, Irish Hotspur's, back on it as well. So we always have good views, good take, and a good argument or two on the Devil's Advocate. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, then please jump over there. Other than that, guys, as Johnny said, massive thank you to everybody who has been a part of the show. Please smash the like, smash the subscribe. Notification bell button should be pushed because we never know. We might be going live at 9:30 in the morning or 9:30 at night. And also, if you are watching on, or if you're watching on Spotify, that does have the video. If you're listening on the other audio platforms, then please hit the follow button. And if you wouldn't mind dropping us a rating, a review, that would be brilliant because we're trying to grow those channels as well.
Yeah, especially on the Apple one, guys, because we're growing nicely on Spotify. Apple, if you're listening on Apple on audio, walking your dog or your kids off to school or wherever, or driving to work, please just hit the follow button and hit the 5-star review button. Just say.
We might have to add a little a froggy segment of the day, mate. A French segment of the day. We got Turkey. We'll have to get the one for French football as well, because it's
we'll do a Saudi segment as well. We're trying. We'll do a Brazil segment. We don't want to discriminate and leave anyone.
No, don't discriminate. I said to Johnny earlier, mate, he needs to figure out a Polish accent so that we can drop that one in for next time. But guys, we'll leave it there. And on that basis, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him.
He's done it! He's finally got it right! Come on, Johnny! Good boy. See you over there in an hour, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment as always. Ciao, ciao.